Thank you. Wrapping up for us, I'd like to introduce John Cherry.
Thank you very much, Bill. Boy, you know, um, yesterday, today, I mean, I just feel like I've been flooded. You know, it's like drinking out of the proverbial fire hose here. It's just so much detail. But you know what? What's kind of rings through all of this? I mean, I get this sense that as we listen, and part of what we're going to try to do here is to give each of the organizing representatives from each of the organizing organizations to kind of get a sense of what they are walking away from this with, but using that to kind of project maybe what they'd like to see in the future. And as I listen to all we've had the opportunity to watch and listen to over the weekend, I am struck that at different points, what kind of emerged was a sense that uh, we have got so much to offer. We're really kind of anxious to get back to where we were before because there's something that needs to be done to make personal contact. And Camilla, I was kind of wondering, did you share that sense where people really wanted some element of authenticity, personal connection here?
Well, I think that was very apparent. And what struck me was something that Kirsten Bridier and Duncan Dornan, first of all, said about how we have to balance technology with the experience. I don't think anything will ever take the place of walking the battlefield or sitting in front of that really wonderful painting and taking a moment. Rather like we all thought the books were gone when Kindles came in, and now there's this resurgence of books. So and we heard it also from Kevin James when he spoke of the manuscripts at Guelph. So that was something that I think it's finding that balance, the treading softly in the environment, the soft fashion, maybe all of us have been taking a bit of a breath with COVID. We want to get back to being together, but maybe with this better balance.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how we as a conference can try to strike that balance, but I guess that's something we're going to have to work on.
No, I think we as one thing that I'm really struck by this year, and I wanted to say how proud I am of all of us, is the collaboration we've had. And I think the voice we can, the amplifying message that we can jointly give. That is it that I really am proud of.
Yeah,
Can I offer a thought on this balancing issue? I think one takeaway, we all want to get back to doing live in-person events and traveling to real places and touching real things. But one thing I think that's a clear takeaway from the last couple of years is this is a pardon me, fine way to have our cousins in Scotland and elsewhere around the world able to join us without the expense of traveling to the States, which in the past was always a limitation. If we couldn't get so-and-so to travel and we couldn't afford to pay for their travel, we didn't see them. And now we'll be able to see them, hopefully in person, but if not, online. So I think going forward, even at in-person events, we're going to have a big screen visible from wherever, where we can have our friends and relations from Scotland and elsewhere join us online. So that's one clear takeaway, I think, from this whole thing.
I think that's a good suggestion. And I know that as we attempted to organize this, we were really focused in on getting a sense of how we express our Scottish identity. And I think part of what we were hearing today from all sorts of people, whether it was food or whether it was academic endeavors, whatever, museums, libraries, you get so excited, you really want to reach out and touch it. And we see how they're expressing their identities. John, I mean, you head up a major national organization of people who uh, who cherish their Scottish identity. How are you seeing them? I mean, we're hearing from professionals abroad on how people in Scotland are expressing their identity. What about us as Americans or as North Americans? What are you seeing?
Well, I've made this point frequently over the years that people in the diaspora, if you want to use that phrase, but certainly in the Scottish American community, who feel their Scottishness are usually at least one generation removed. Some are immigrants, but most of the children, grandchildren, or descendants of immigrants. We hold that dear. I think sometimes people in Scotland don't fully understand the depth of that. I was struck by Gus's comment that when he swore his oath to become an American citizen, he felt more Scottish than he had the day before. And that's a phenomenon that I think only immigrants understand. So that's something that I think we're doing it. We need to share that with our friends in Scotland, but they often wonder, why are we so enthusiastic about pipes, Highland games, clan societies, etc.? That's the reason, pure and simple.
Bill, you had several similar challenges as the president of CASIC, and I did hear you over the course of the weekend mention a couple times that you were kind of building a list of homework you have to now engage in. So, I mean, how do you see that fitting into this?
Well, there's two sides to it. One, there's the things that I know I need to do. The important lesson is that I wouldn't have gotten those things except for the interaction with the community, and that's the importance of it. It's the talking and other people having their little picture from their viewpoint and their experiences that you don't get. You're not going to think of those things. And that leads into one of the other things that we were mentioning earlier, which is we've been forced into this format. But this format, we know we have to change to get back into interpersonal reactions to actually be there. And it's going to take innovation. What I'm concerned about is that we're not going to be able to copy somebody to do that. The other thing that I think maybe we want to look at it as an opportunity to say, the younger generation, which we do not address at this point. We don't have a youth segment, but I think we should try to figure out how can we do that, because the online components and the aspects of it will make it more accessible to them. They don't necessarily want to travel somewhere and be somewhere for X amount of time, but they can get in and watch perhaps at their convenience. And that's an opportunity for us to take some risks, try out some innovation, try out some innovative ways of doing it that we might very well fail, which I admire the youth because they don't think about failure. They think about trying and trying and trying and learning. And that's what we'll integrate into this. The other thing that was key for me is the biggest thing I've learned is I know even less than I thought I knew. And I thank everybody for that lesson.
Maggie, I know you had some frustrations, as you expressed as a panel member on dance, where you just didn't feel like you could express your Scottishness in this pandemic. I mean, what have you gotten out of this weekend that maybe helped you over that hump?
Well, first of all, I have to say, I think it's an amazing thing that you people really have put together. My Scottishness, well, I'm very involved with other ones. Clan McEwen, I'm the commissioner in Canada, and of course the Scottish Studies Foundation. So I'm still getting my Scottishness. Thank you for your concern. It's not going to go away.
Very good. Gus, I've thought at the beginning yesterday, you had captured a strong sense of what the conference was going to try to achieve, and I reflected right at the beginning. the Lord Lyon talked about our origins, our identity, and our heritage. And you took that a little bit farther. I mean, as the thing continued to unfold, I mean, what additional senses of perhaps our challenges moving forward might be?
It's a good question, John. I thought, looking back on the conference, that several things became crystal clear to me, and that's people are assigned, people create their sense of Scottish identity for a number of different reasons and in many different ways. Every identity is unique, therefore the challenge for us as Scottish organisations and members of the Scottish community is to find the relevance of those individual Scottish identities. But through the sessions, there were things that became clear to me that were shared by every Scottish identity. And those are values. Those are the things that make us who we are. And the Lord Lyon, right out of the gate, recognized the importance of community and standing by the values that make us Scottish. And I would suggest, as I did to Lord Bruce early yesterday morning, that there are three values that are shared by every Scottish identity. And I think those are education, that's really, critical thinking, enlightened thinking that perhaps is inspired by the Scottish Enlightenment, or the Scottish Enlightenment may have been inspired by that sense of critical thinking that Scots are known for. A belief in enterprise and invention. And of course, the Scots are known the world over for all of our incredible inventions that Alan Beck began his presentation by referencing. And then again on Burns, a sense of equality, a belief in the equality of every individual and every opportunity that's perhaps best represented by Robert Burns' poem, "A Man's a Man for All That." So education, equality, and enterprise. And I go back to the session on fashion and fabrics. It was truly inspirational to me for a number of different ways, but I would argue that the best representation throughout the whole conference was that session of these three values: education, critical thinking, how can we make a better way of doing things and being who we are, and certainly equality of opportunity and the freedom to go out and realize those opportunities, and invention and enterprise. Let's make sure that there's a better way. Let's really kind of invent and pivot, as to use the word that Camilla has used a few times. So I think we all have to really focus on the things that connect us as well as the things that make us uniquely Scottish. John's point about the difference in identity, Scottish identity on both sides of the Atlantic or within the constituent groups, I feel as if I'm kind of sitting, as John said, right on the precipice of both, as an immigrant, having felt that sense of becoming an American in my case, but taking my own identity and expanding it, you have to have a solid foundation to do that. So it's all about focusing on the individual, but also on the things that connect us. And there's the challenge, inclusivity and identity was the challenge that my friend laid out in his remarks when he accepted our award. And I would say it's been under the microscope this weekend, but that's a puzzle I don't know that we'll ever be able to solve, and perhaps that's a blessing.
But could I offer another thought here?
Sure.
Very briefly.
Yes. Let John go and then Camilla.
Very briefly, I think it's fair to say that, and we joke about it here in the North American Scottish community, that our cousins back home in Scotland have some misconceptions about us. They think we're all about the Brigadoon aspects of Scottishness. I think this conference has shown our understanding and appreciation is deeper and more nuanced than that. At the same time, I think we have some misconceptions about them. It's very commonly said here in the States that risk-taking, ingenuity, That kind of intrepidness is dead in Scotland today. That's the kind of stuff my grandfather brought with him to America a century ago, and that's all gone. I think it's very clear from that panel with the Eco Fashion group this morning, 3 young, enterprising, risk-taking, ingenious Scots who are making a success in their particular industry despite all of the obstacles they're facing, shows that that is not dead in Scotland. Far from it, and we should celebrate that.
Very good. Yes, Camilla.
I was going to say something that I spoke to Gus about separately, and I spoke to you, John, about. I think that there's elements of this conference that we can offer to people in different segments. I think that there's so much to share from what we have learned this weekend. And I really look forward to us being able to do that. I think to the point about the young fashion, to our, young fashion entrepreneurs, that's a wonderful segment. Lord Bruce's moment with us was fascinating. There's so many different ones. And I think we can offer this. That can be something that we as SNAC in the next few months can offer as segments and roll out.
That can be a new twist of what we've done in the past, is to really take this forward. And well, any other observations? Well, if not, I mean, I want to thank each one of our sponsoring organizations and their leadership. Camilla, I know at the American Scottish Foundation, you have been a driving force here, and I think the quality of this conference reflects that. And John Belisai, as a member of COSCA, I appreciate the time you devoted to this. And Bill, I know that this technical thing, you and Jamie have made this all work, and we appreciate it. And I know, Maggie, you've spent some time working on this, and Gus, you've provided some good driving advice as well. And so I think it's been a very successful conference. I'm looking forward to next year. I think we've given ourselves in this little segment some things to mull over the next month or so as we begin to visualize what 2022 will look like. But again, thank you, and I want to thank all of our spectators for joining us and showing your concern and your desire to know a bit more about your Scottish identity as we develop this partnership with our ancestral land in Scotland. Thank you so much.
Are we going to have a toast at the end of this?
Well, I'm not sure if Charlie's around to do that, but if he is, I would welcome it.
Mr. Sherwood, are you nearby? If not,
Charlie's an attendee. If he can be
Charlie,
promoted.
Here he's coming. He's coming.
There we go.
I need to pour a dram real quickly.
He's got one within reach.
What is this one?
The Duke sent his tie over, but I don't have time to put it on.
Glenlivet?
Yes, another Glenlivet.
Interesting you had it within reach there, Charlie.
Charlie, I'm with you. I have a Glenlivet 12-year as well.
Very good.
Founders Reserve, I think.
It's not a bad little whiskey. It's, it was interesting. Giles mentioned Borders Distillery is one that's near Abbotsford. I spent Wednesday afternoon at the Denver airport drinking beers with their master distiller. He was on a quick tour. Real quick, thank you for a successful conference. You guys did great. I look forward to actually contributing next year. There is good whiskey. There's not so good whiskey, but there is no such thing as bad whiskey. Slán Dubh.
Slán Dubh.
Slán Dubh.
Thank you so much. Till next year.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Be well.